Hello, my best students. Before we dive in, I want you to comment below. I'm ready to learn about the future. That one line tells me you're serious, you're present, and you're here to grow. Today, we are going to explore a topic that's shaping your life, my life, and the entire world: artificial intelligence. But not in a boring robotic way. We'll talk about how it's evolving, what it means for our jobs, creativity, emotions, and language learning. And of course, we'll use this as a way to improve your English fluency, sentence structure, and advanced vocabulary. So, relax, listen carefully, and let's start this powerful journey together. This isn't just another lecture about technology. This is a conversation about what it means to be human in a world where machines are learning to think, and what role we play in shaping that future. Every word we explore today, every idea we unpack, will help you not just understand it better, but understand yourself better in relation to it. Part 1. It starts quietly. A phone suggesting a better route to work. A voice assistant reading your messages while you're cooking. A streaming app learning your taste in movies. Most people don't even notice it. But this is AI. It's already here. And it's not knocking on the door of the future. It's living in your pocket. The first thing we need to understand is that AI doesn't look like a robot with glowing eyes. It's software, algorithms, invisible systems that learn from data. They process patterns faster than any human can, and they're trained to make decisions, give recommendations, even write, draw, compose music, and drive cars. The line between machine and mind is beginning to blur. Every time you unlock your phone with your face, every time you ask Siri or Alexa a question, every time Netflix knows exactly what show you want to watch next, you're interacting with artificial intelligence. It's woven into the fabric of our daily existence so seamlessly that we forget it's even there. But make no mistake, it's watching, learning, adapting to who we are and what we want. Now, is this amazing? Yes. Is it scary? Sometimes. But above all, it's powerful. And power needs responsibility. Think about how we've always adapted to new tools. From fire to electricity to the internet, each one changed the world. AI is no different. In fact, it's not coming in the future. It's shaping your present. And that means we have to ask better questions. Not just what can AI do, but what should it do and how do we stay in control? Because here's the thing. AI is only as good as the data it learns from and the people who build it. If we let it grow without asking these deeper questions, we risk letting it make choices for us without our values, without our voice. Think about the history of technology. When the printing press was invented, people feared it would destroy memory and learning. When television arrived, critics said it would rot our brains. When the internet emerged, parents worried their children would lose touch with reality. Every major technological shift has been met with both celebration and fear, and AI is no exception. But what makes AI different is its ability to learn and evolve on its own, to improve without human intervention in some cases, to make decisions that affect millions of lives in milliseconds. But if we learn how to use it, really use it with wisdom, with awareness, and with heart, then AI becomes more than a tool. It becomes a partner, one that can help us solve big problems, free up our time, and focus on what truly matters: connection, creativity, and growth. And that's what this episode is about. Not just surviving the AI revolution, but thriving in it. We're standing at a crossroads in human history, a moment where the choices we make today will echo for generations. Will we use AI to amplify the best parts of humanity? Or will we let it amplify our worst tendencies? Will we build systems that serve everyone, or only the privileged few? These aren't abstract philosophical questions. These are practical decisions being made right now by developers, policymakers, and everyday users like you and me. Part 2. If we zoom out and really look at what AI is doing across the world, we start to see a quiet revolution. In hospitals, AI helps doctors detect cancer earlier than ever before. In classrooms, AI-powered apps help students learn at their own pace. In agriculture, farmers use AI to predict weather, monitor crops, and reduce waste. These aren't just tech upgrades. They're life-changing shifts. And for you, for me, for everyday people, AI means a chance to focus more on what we're good at, the deeply human things: creativity, empathy, problem-solving, relationships. AI doesn't have a soul. It doesn't dream. It doesn't laugh because something is genuinely funny. That's us. That's what makes us different. And that's where we still lead. Consider the medical field for a moment. Radiologists are now working alongside AI systems that can scan thousands of X-rays in the time it takes a human to look at one. But the AI doesn't comfort the patient. It doesn't explain the diagnosis with compassion. It doesn't hold space for fear and hope simultaneously. That's the human touch. And it will always be irreplaceable. In education, we are seeing AI tutors that can work with students 24 hours a day, adapting to their learning style, providing instant feedback, never losing patience. But AI can't inspire a love of learning the way a passionate teacher can. It can't see the spark in a student's eyes when they finally understand a difficult concept. It can't mentor, encourage, or believe in someone when they've stopped believing in themselves. These human elements are the heart of education, and AI is simply a tool to enhance them, not replace them. In agriculture, AI is helping farmers optimize crop yields, reduce water usage, and minimize pesticide application. This isn't just about efficiency. It's about feeding a growing global population while protecting our planet. It's about giving farmers in remote areas access to the same advanced insights that large corporate farms have. It's about democratizing knowledge and leveling the playing field. But again, it's the farmer's experience, intuition, and connection to the land that makes the final decisions. AI provides the data, but humans provide the wisdom. But here's the trap. It's easy to get lazy, to let AI do the thinking for us. Write the emails, finish the assignments, make the decisions. Convenience is seductive, but if we're not careful, we stop thinking for ourselves. And that's dangerous. Imagine a generation that loses its ability to write deeply, to question facts, to speak with clarity, because AI always fills in the blanks. That's not the future we want. That's why education must evolve, not to resist AI, but to teach people how to use it wisely, to collaborate with it, not depend on it blindly. We are already seeing this dependency creep into our lives. How many phone numbers do you have memorized anymore? How often do you rely on GPS instead of learning the routes yourself? How frequently do you accept the first answer Google gives you without digging deeper? These small surrenders of cognitive ability might seem harmless, but they add up. When we outsource our thinking to machines, we atrophy our own mental muscles. We need to build a mindset of co-creation. Instead of asking, will AI replace me? Ask, how can I use AI to become more curious, more productive, more skilled, more human? Because the future will reward those who know how to blend the power of technology with the depth of human values. So when someone says AI is going to take over, I say only if we let it. But if we stay awake, if we stay learning, questioning, growing, then AI becomes fuel, not a threat. This is the time to ask yourself, what can I do better, faster, or smarter with the help of AI? And more importantly, what can only I do that no machine ever will? Think of AI as a bicycle for the mind. As Steve Jobs once described computers, it doesn't replace your legs. It amplifies your ability to travel farther and faster. But you still have to pedal. You still have to steer. You still have to decide where you're going. The destination is always yours to choose. Part 3. Let's talk about the workplace, because that's where most of the fear around AI lives. Headlines scream, AI will take your job. And for many people, that fear feels real. But the truth is more nuanced than that. AI isn't here to destroy work. It's here to transform it. Yes, some jobs will disappear. Repetitive tasks, data entry, simple customer service. These are already being automated. But that's only half the story. Because while AI takes over some roles, it also creates new ones, roles that didn't even exist 5 years ago. The Industrial Revolution eliminated countless jobs in agriculture and manual labor, but it created millions more in manufacturing, engineering, and services. The Digital Revolution replaced typewriter repairmen and switchboard operators, but it gave us software developers, digital marketers, and social media managers. Every major technological shift has followed this pattern, and AI is no different. The key is not to resist the change, but to position yourself for the new opportunities it creates. Think about it. 10 years ago, there were no AI ethicists, prompt engineers, or machine learning operations specialists. Today, those jobs are not only real, they're in high demand. The future doesn't belong to those who cling to old skills. It belongs to those who are willing to learn, unlearn, and relearn. If you're listening to this, you've already taken the first step. You're aware. You're curious. That's your superpower. The next step is to keep building your skills, especially the ones machines can't copy. Communication, leadership, creativity, strategic thinking. These are the muscles we need to strengthen. Look at the rise of the creator economy. YouTubers, podcasters, newsletter writers, online course creators. These are jobs that didn't exist a generation ago. AI tools have made it easier than ever to produce high-quality content, but they haven't replaced the need for authentic human voices, unique perspectives, and genuine connection. In fact, as AI-generated content floods the internet, human authenticity becomes even more valuable. People crave real stories, real emotions, real experiences, things that AI can simulate but never truly originate. Let's say you work in marketing. AI can analyze trends and generate content, but it can't feel the culture the way you do. It can understand what truly moves people. That's where you come in with your intuition, your storytelling, your empathy. AI gives you the tools, but it's still your vision that matters. Or maybe you're in healthcare. AI might help scan X-rays or predict disease risk, but only you can hold someone's hand, deliver hard news with compassion, or build trust in the eyes of a patient. AI can assist, but healing is still a human act. Consider a nurse who uses AI to monitor patient vitals and predict complications before they happen. The technology gives her more time to actually be with patients, to listen to their fears, to notice the small changes in mood or behavior that no algorithm can detect. The AI handles the data processing so the nurse can focus on the care, the actual caring that makes all the difference. Instead of asking, "Will AI take my job?" ask, "How will my job evolve with AI?" That shift in mindset can turn fear into strategy, because if you wait for the future to happen to you, you'll always be behind. But if you start shaping your own role in this AI world, you become part of the evolution. The future isn't about competing with machines. It's about becoming more human and using machines to help you do that better. Start by identifying which parts of your current role could be enhanced by AI. What tasks are repetitive and time-consuming? What data analysis would help you make better decisions? What administrative burdens keep you from doing the work you're actually passionate about? Once you identify these areas, you can begin exploring AI tools that address them. This isn't about making yourself obsolete. It's about freeing yourself to do the work that only you can do. The work that requires judgment, creativity, emotional intelligence, and human wisdom. Part 4. Now, let's flip the coin and talk about the risks. The real serious concerns that come with AI. Because as much as this technology can empower us, it can also challenge our rights, our freedoms, even our sense of truth. One of the biggest threats, misinformation. AI can now generate articles, voices, and even faces that seem real but are completely fake. With deepfakes, someone can create a video of a person saying something they never said. With AI-written content, entire websites can flood the internet with biased, misleading, or false information, making it harder than ever to know what's true. We've already seen political deepfakes, celebrity impersonations, and fabricated news stories that spread like wildfire across social media. The technology has become so sophisticated that even experts sometimes struggle to distinguish real from fake. Imagine the implications for democracy, for justice, for personal reputation. If anyone can create convincing fake evidence of anything, how do we maintain accountability? How do we trust our own eyes and ears? And this matters because when truth becomes blurry, trust breaks down. In politics, in relationships, in communities, when we don't know what to believe, we stop believing in anything. That's the danger, not the AI itself, but how it's used. Then there's privacy. Every time you use AI, whether it's a chatbot, a smart assistant, or a translation app, data is being collected. Your searches, your preferences, even the tone of your voice. In the hands of ethical developers, that data can help improve services. But in the wrong hands, it can be used to manipulate, control, or surveil. Think about how much your devices know about you. They know where you go, who you talk to, what you buy, what you search for at 3 in the morning when you can't sleep. They know your political leanings, your health concerns, your relationship status, your financial situation. This data, when aggregated and analyzed by AI, can create a profile of you that's more accurate than you might realize. Marketing companies use this to target you with ads. Political campaigns use it to micro-target messages. Insurance companies want to use it to assess risk. Employers might use it to screen candidates. The potential for abuse is enormous. Governments and companies have a responsibility to protect us, but we as users have a role too. We must learn to ask questions. Who built this tool? What data does it collect? What are its limitations? Blind trust is dangerous, especially with systems that learn and evolve on their own. And let's not forget bias. AI doesn't exist in a vacuum. It learns from human data, and humans are full of biases. If a hiring algorithm is trained on data from a company that mostly hired men in the past, it might continue to prefer men without even realizing it. That's not intelligence. That's inherited discrimination. We've seen this play out in real-world applications. Facial recognition systems that work better on light-skinned faces than dark-skinned ones because the training data was biased. Credit scoring algorithms that disadvantage certain zip codes. Perpetuating historical patterns of redlining and discrimination. Predictive policing tools that send more officers to neighborhoods that have historically been over-policed. Creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. These aren't just technical glitches. They're manifestations of systemic inequalities being encoded into the tools we are building for the future. So, what do? Do we shut it all down? No. But we must demand transparency. We must build systems that are accountable, explainable, and aligned with human values. And that starts with education, not just for engineers, but for everyone. Because AI isn't just a tech issue, it's a human issue. It affects how we live, how we connect, how we think. The future of AI depends not just on innovation, but on ethics, on the questions we ask, on the values we protect, and on the courage we have to say just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. We need diverse teams building AI systems, people from different backgrounds, cultures, genders, and perspectives. We need ethicists working alongside engineers. We need users who are informed and vocal about their concerns. We need regulations that protect people without stifling innovation. And we need a cultural shift that values responsible development as much as rapid deployment. The race to build the most powerful AI should never come at the expense of building the most ethical AI. Part 5. Let's shift from the risks back to something even more important, the human side of AI. Because while we often focus on how smart machines are becoming, we forget to ask how are we changing in response in this new world where machines can write stories, compose music, give advice, even hold conversations. What does it mean to be human? Where do we find our value when technology can do so much? The answer, I believe, is in our emotional depth, our stories, our curiosity. AI can simulate empathy, but it can't truly feel. It can recognize sadness in your voice, but it doesn't know heartbreak. It can paint a picture, but it doesn't know what it's like to fall in love with the face in the painting. That emotional richness, the way we grieve, hope, forgive, create. That's something no machine can replicate. When you cry at a movie, the AI that recommended it to you doesn't understand why those particular scenes moved you. When you laugh until your stomach hurts with an old friend, the AI assistant listening and doesn't comprehend the years of shared history that make that moment meaningful. When you feel that surge of determination after failing at something, the AI analyzing your productivity patterns doesn't grasp the complex emotional journey that led to that resolution. So instead of fearing that AI will take our place, we should double down on the things that make us irreplaceable. This is where the opportunity lies. AI can handle the mechanical, the repetitive, the analytical. That frees us up to go deeper into what really matters. Imagine having more time to think, to create, to connect. Imagine a teacher who spends less time grading and more time mentoring. A writer who spends less time editing and more time telling raw, meaningful stories. A doctor who uses AI for diagnosis, but focuses on healing the whole person. This is the promise of AI when used correctly. It's not about replacing humans, but about removing the barriers that prevent us from being fully human. How many hours do you spend each week on tasks that drain your energy without engaging your passion? How much time do you waste on administrative work, data entry, scheduling, organizing, when you'd rather be creating, connecting, innovating, leading? AI can take over those mundane tasks, giving you back the time and mental space to focus on what makes you come alive. But this also comes with responsibility. As humans, we have to stop seeing ourselves as machines. Productivity is not our only value. You are not a robot. You don't need to work 24/7 to prove your worth. What AI shows us if we are paying attention is that being human is not about speed or efficiency. It's about purpose, presence, and heart. If we let AI handle the doing, then maybe we can finally reclaim the being. Being present, being kind, being creative, being ourselves. That's the paradox. The more powerful AI becomes, the more important it is to reconnect with our own humanity. Because no matter how advanced machines get, the future will always need people who care, who imagine, who love. We've spent decades measuring human worth by productivity metrics, by how much we can produce, how fast we can work, how many tasks we can complete. But AI is forcing us to confront an uncomfortable truth. If our only value is what we produce, then eventually machines will surpass us in every measurable way. So we need a new definition of human value, one based not on output, but on qualities that are inherently, irreducibly human: compassion, wisdom, moral courage, the ability to hold space for someone's suffering, the capacity to imagine a better world and inspire others to build it with you. So if you're feeling overwhelmed by all this talk of technology, remember this: you're not being replaced. You're being called to rise, to lead, to show the world what only a human soul can offer. The skills that will matter most in the AI age are precisely the skills that make us most human. Emotional intelligence, the ability to read a room, to sense unspoken tensions, to know when someone needs support even if they can't ask for it. Creative thinking, the ability to make unexpected connections, to see possibilities where others see dead ends, to break rules in service of a higher vision. Ethical judgment, the ability to weigh competing values, to stand up for what's right even when it's costly, to consider the long-term consequences of short-term decisions. These are the capacities we need to cultivate in ourselves and in the next generation. These are the skills that no algorithm can replicate because they emerge from lived experience, from suffering and joy, from the messy complexity of being alive. Part 6. Now, let's talk about something many people ignore when they think about AI: education. Not just in schools, but in everyday life, because learning is no longer a luxury. It's a survival skill. In a world driven by AI, the old model of education, memorizing facts, taking standardized tests, getting a degree, and calling it done, simply doesn't work anymore. The ground is shifting too fast. The skills that matter today might be outdated in 5 years. So what's the solution? We need to become lifelong learners, flexible, curious, adaptable. That's not just a nice idea. It's a strategy for staying relevant. The half-life of skills is shrinking rapidly. In some technical fields, what you learned 2 years ago may already be obsolete. But this isn't just about technical skills. It's about cultivating a mindset that embraces change, that sees learning not as a phase of life, but as a continuous practice, that finds joy in discovery rather than comfort in certainty. And the good news is AI can actually help with that. Think about how personalized learning can be with AI. Imagine a tutor that knows exactly what you struggle with and teaches you in a way that fits your brain. Or language learning apps that adapt to your progress in real time. Or AI that summarizes complex topics so you can learn them in minutes instead of hours. This kind of support can open doors for millions who've struggled in traditional systems. But here's the key: AI can't learn for you. It can guide you, coach you, challenge you. But you still have to show up. You still have to put in the time, make the effort, and ask the hard questions. Consider someone learning a new language. AI can provide instant translation, pronunciation feedback, grammar correction, and personalized exercises based on your weak points. But it can't motivate you to practice when you're tired. It can't help you push through the frustration when you can't express a complex thought. It can't give you the courage to speak with native speakers and risk making mistakes. Those elements of learning require human qualities like grit, humility, and determination. The future of education isn't about replacing teachers with robots. It's about empowering teachers with better tools and empowering students with more freedom. The teacher of the future might be a human with wisdom and heart, supported by an AI assistant that tracks learning gaps and suggests resources. It's not a war between machine and mind. It's a partnership when done right. And this shift in education isn't just for kids. It's for everyone: adults, workers, parents, entrepreneurs. We all need to keep learning, not because we are falling behind, but because we're growing into something new. Imagine a classroom where the teacher is freed from the burden of delivering the same lecture to 30 students with vastly different learning styles and speeds. Instead, AI delivers personalized content to each student, adjusting the pace and approach based on real-time feedback. This frees the teacher to do what they do best: inspire curiosity, facilitate discussions, mentor students through difficult concepts, help them develop critical thinking skills, and model the joy of lifelong learning. The teacher becomes less of an information delivery system and more of a guide, coach, and role model. If you've ever told yourself, "I'm too old to learn AI," or "technology isn't my thing," let me say this: you're not too late. You're right on time. What matters most is not what you already know. It's your willingness to keep learning. Because in the age of AI, the most valuable skill is the ability to keep learning what matters next. Age is not a barrier to learning. Mindset is. Some of the most successful people in the tech industry didn't learn to code until they were in their 30s, 40s, even 50s. What they had wasn't youth or prior experience. It was curiosity, persistence, and a willingness to be a beginner again. That willingness to not know, to ask dumb questions, to struggle with new concepts. That's the real skill, and it's one you can develop at any age. The education system of the future will recognize learning as a lifelong journey with multiple on-ramps and off-ramps. You might spend a decade in one career, then take 6 months to retrain for something completely different. You might cycle between periods of intense learning and periods of application. The linear path of school, college, career, retirement will give way to something more fluid, more adaptive, more human. Part 7. Now, let's explore something deeper, something that most people feel but rarely talk about: the emotional impact of living in an AI-powered world. Because even if we understand the benefits and risks, even if we stay curious and educated, there's still this quiet question whispering in the back of our minds. Where do I fit in? When machines can answer faster, write better, draw more beautifully, and speak more fluently, it's easy to feel small. It's easy to feel like what we do or who we are doesn't matter as much anymore. But that's exactly why we need to talk about identity and self-worth in the age of AI. This is perhaps the most personal and painful aspect of the AI revolution. It's not just about jobs or skills. It's about meaning, purpose, and the fundamental question of what makes us valuable as human beings. When you've spent years honing a craft, whether it's writing, design, coding, or analysis, and then you see AI accomplish in seconds what took you hours or days, it's natural to feel a mix of amazement and existential dread. Let's be real. We live in a time when productivity often defines our value. How much did you do today? What did you accomplish? But AI is now faster than us at many of the things we used to be proud of. So if we keep tying our worth to output, we'll constantly feel like we are falling behind. The truth is we have to start redefining success, not as what we produce, but how we connect, not how fast we work, but how deeply we live. Because the world is not just about efficiency, it's about meaning. And machines don't do meaning, only people do. This is a fundamental shift that society needs to make, and it won't happen overnight. For generations, we've been conditioned to measure our worth by our productivity, by our utility, by our ability to produce value in an economic system. But what happens when machines can produce more value more efficiently? Do we become worthless? Only if we accept that framework. The truth is that human worth has never been about productivity. That's a lie we've been telling ourselves since the Industrial Revolution. Our worth comes from our inherent dignity as conscious beings capable of love, creativity, moral choice, and meaning-making. That means we need to protect our mental health in this new world, to remember that you are not competing with AI. You're living alongside it. And living requires rest, emotion, joy, struggle, discovery. These are human experiences. They are not bugs in our system. They are the system. And we also need to build stronger communities. AI can connect us across the globe, but it can also isolate us behind screens. We must make a conscious effort to stay human, to talk to each other, listen to each other, care about each other. Because in a world where machines grow smarter, human warmth becomes even more valuable. Think about the irony of our current moment. We have more ways to connect than ever before, yet loneliness is epidemic. We have more information at our fingertips than any previous generation, yet we struggle to find wisdom. We have more entertainment options than we could consume in a lifetime, yet we're anxious and unfulfilled. Technology, including AI, can amplify connection or amplify isolation. It can spread wisdom or spread noise. It can enhance well-being or exacerbate mental health challenges. The difference isn't the technology itself, it's how we choose to use it and what values we bring to that use. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to be unsure. But don't disappear into your doubts. Step into them. Let them make you more thoughtful, more compassionate, more grounded. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to become a robot to survive in a robotic world. You just need to be real, to stay awake, to keep showing up as a learner, a friend, a creator, a soul. Because no matter how fast AI evolves, the world will always need humans who feel and choose and lead with heart. The people who will thrive in the AI age are not necessarily those with the highest IQs or the most technical skills. They're the people with the highest EQ, emotional quotient, the ability to navigate complex human dynamics, to build trust, to inspire and motivate others, to create psychological safety, to hold space for difficult conversations, to lead with empathy and authenticity. These are the skills that matter most. And ironically, they're skills that our education system has historically undervalued. That needs to change. We need to teach emotional intelligence alongside technical literacy. We need to value self-awareness as much as subject matter expertise. We need to recognize that in a world of artificial intelligence, human intelligence means something different than it used to. Part 8. Now, let's go global for a moment, because the future of AI isn't just about individuals. It's about humanity. Entire nations, industries, and cultures are now being reshaped by artificial intelligence. And how we choose to navigate this shift together will define what kind of world we leave behind. Let's start with the obvious. AI is not equally distributed. In wealthy tech-advanced countries, people have access to powerful tools, smart devices, and constant updates. But in developing nations, access to AI-powered education, healthcare, or even reliable internet is still a challenge. The digital divide is real, and AI threatens to make it even wider. Countries with advanced AI capabilities will have enormous economic advantages. Their workforces will be more productive. Their healthcare systems will be more efficient. Their educational outcomes will be better. Meanwhile, countries without this access risk falling further behind, creating a two-tiered world where some nations surge ahead while others struggle to keep pace. This creates a dangerous gap, not just a digital divide, but a human one. Because here's the hard truth. If AI becomes the engine of progress, then those without access to it will be left behind in ways we've never seen before. This isn't just unfair, it's unsustainable. We can't build a smarter world that forgets half its people. That's why we need ethical leadership in governments, in tech companies, in communities. Leaders who don't just chase innovation for profit, but ask, how does this help people? Who is being lifted? Who is being left out? Consider the implications for global inequality. If AI automates manufacturing jobs in developing countries that depend on low-cost labor as their path to development, what happens to those economies? If AI-powered agricultural tools are only available to large commercial farms in wealthy countries, what happens to small farmers in Africa, Asia, and Latin America? If AI-driven education is only accessible to those who can afford expensive devices and high-speed internet, what happens to children in rural areas and poor communities? These aren't hypothetical questions. They're urgent challenges that require intentional, coordinated responses. And this leads to another global question. Who controls AI? The algorithms that shape what you see online, that recommends, that even influence elections. They're not neutral. They're built by humans with agendas inside systems of power. So when we talk about AI, we are also talking about trust, regulation, and responsibility. The future we want doesn't just depend on the technology. It depends on the values we build into it. Will we choose transparency over manipulation, inclusion over exclusion, wisdom over speed? Right now, the most powerful AI systems are controlled by a handful of tech companies, primarily based in the United States and China. These companies have more data, more computing power, and more AI expertise than most governments. That concentration of power raises serious questions. Who holds them accountable? What happens when their business interests conflict with public interest? How do we ensure that the AI systems shaping our information ecosystem, our economy, and our social interactions are aligned with democratic values and human rights? AI has the power to solve massive global problems, from climate change prediction to medical breakthroughs to smarter energy systems. But it will only do that if we guide it there. We can't just hope for a better future. We have to design it, And that's not a job for engineers alone. It's a job for all of us: teachers, parents, writers, students, dreamers, people who believe that progress is not just about machines doing more, but about humans living better. So as you think about your own future, remember this: you are part of something bigger. Every decision you make to learn, to lead, to question, to create ripples out. And when we all choose to rise with integrity and awareness, we don't just adapt to AI, we elevate humanity. Think about climate change, one of the most pressing challenges of our time. AI can analyze climate data at scales humans never could, predicting weather patterns, optimizing energy grids, designing more efficient transportation systems, developing new materials that reduce carbon emissions. But AI doesn't care about the planet. It doesn't have a stake in the future. We do. So it's up to us to direct AI toward these crucial problems, to prioritize long-term sustainability over short-term profit, to use this powerful tool in service of the survival and flourishing of all life on Earth. Part 9. At this point, you might be wondering, so what can I actually do? That's the right question, because the future of AI isn't some distant thing that only experts and engineers shape. It's something you interact with, influence, and co-create every single day. Let's start with a mindset shift. You don't need to master all the technical details of AI to have power in this space. You just need to be intentional, curious, awake. You already use AI more than you think in your phone, your apps, your news feed, your shopping habits. So the first step is becoming aware. Ask yourself, what is this tool doing for me? What is it learning from me? And how do I feel about that? Awareness is power. Most people sleepwalk through their interactions with AI, never questioning how it works or what it's doing with their data. But once you start paying attention, you begin to see patterns. You notice when recommendations feel manipulative rather than helpful. You recognize when content is designed to outrage rather than inform. You understand when an AI tool is genuinely solving a problem for you versus creating new dependencies. The next step: start experimenting. Try AI tools. Use them for learning, for writing, for organization. See what they can do and what they can't. You'll begin to see that AI isn't magic. It's smart, but it's also flawed. And the more you play with it, the more confident you become in guiding it. Then make it a habit to ask better questions. Don't just use AI to get quick answers. Use it to think deeper. What are the pros and cons of this decision? What perspectives am I missing? How can I use this tool to grow instead of escape? AI can widen your view, but only if you lead it with strong questions. The quality of what you get from AI depends entirely on the quality of what you put in. This is true for AI tools like ChatGPT, where the prompts you provide determine the responses you receive. It's true for recommendation algorithms, where your past behavior shapes what you see next. It's true for AI assistants, where the tasks you delegate determine how much value you extract. Learning to work effectively with AI is a skill in itself, one that will become increasingly important. And perhaps most importantly, don't stop being human. In a world of machines, what sets you apart is your ability to care, to feel, to tell stories that move hearts, to make someone laugh, to stand for what's right, even when it's hard. These are not small things. These are everything. You don't need to fight AI. You need to lead with humanity in an AI world. That means choosing transparency, practicing digital mindfulness, supporting creators and platforms that align with your values, teaching your kids how to think critically, not just how to use tools, voting for policies that protect privacy and promote equity. Every small choice you make compounds over time. When you choose to read a long-form article instead of just scrolling through headlines, you're exercising your attention span and critical thinking. When you have a face-to-face conversation instead of sending a text, you're maintaining your social skills and emotional intelligence. When you create something with your hands instead of asking AI to generate it, you're keeping your creative muscles strong. These daily practices matter more than you might think. They're not about rejecting technology. They're about maintaining balance, about ensuring that as AI handles more of the mechanical tasks, you're developing the distinctly human capacities that will always be irreplaceable. You have more influence than you think. Every time you use AI with awareness, every time you share knowledge, speak with honesty, or lead with integrity, you are shaping the culture around this technology. The future of AI isn't written yet. It's being written now. And your voice, your choices, your energy, they matter. Consider the power of your purchasing decisions. When you support companies that use AI ethically, that prioritize user privacy, that treat their workers fairly, you're voting with your wallet for the kind of future you want to see. When you refuse to engage with platforms that spread misinformation or exploit user data, you're drawing a line. When you share articles, videos, or resources that help others understand AI better, you're contributing to a more informed society. These actions might feel small in isolation, but collectively they shape markets, influence corporate behavior, and set cultural norms. Think about your role in your community, whether that's your workplace, your family, your neighborhood, or your online networks. Are you the person who helps others understand new technology? Are you the one who raises ethical questions when everyone else is just chasing efficiency? Are you teaching young people to think critically about the tools they use every day? These roles matter enormously. Change doesn't only come from the top down, from governments and corporations. It also comes from the bottom up, from informed citizens who demand better, who ask hard questions, who refuse to accept "that's just how it works" as an answer. You have agency in this moment of transformation, more than you might realize. The question is whether you'll exercise it. So, here we are at the end of our journey, and maybe at the beginning of something even bigger. We've talked about how AI is reshaping our lives and work, education, health, creativity, and connection. We've explored the powerful possibilities, and we've looked honestly at the risks. But above all, we've asked the most important question: how do we stay human in the middle of all this change? The answer is simple, but not easy. We stay human by staying awake, by using these tools with purpose, not just for comfort, by becoming students again of the world, of each other, of ourselves. This journey we've taken together today is really just the beginning. Understanding AI isn't a destination. It's an ongoing practice of curiosity, questioning, and adaptation. The landscape is changing so rapidly that what's true today might be outdated tomorrow. But the principles we've discussed, the human values, the ethical considerations, the emphasis on wisdom over mere intelligence, these will remain relevant no matter how the technology evolves. We don't need to fear the future. We just need to keep showing up with curiosity, with courage, with care. Because the real story of AI isn't about machines replacing people. It's about people rediscovering what truly matters. And maybe, just maybe, this technology is here not to make us less human, but to remind us of what it means to be fully alive. Think about it this way. For most of human history, we've been so consumed with survival, with meeting our basic needs, with doing the hard physical and mental labor required to keep society functioning, that we haven't had much time or energy left for the deeper questions of existence. What does it mean to live a good life? How do we create meaning? What is our responsibility to each other and to future generations? What brings genuine fulfillment beyond material comfort? AI, by taking over so many of the routine tasks, might finally give us the space to grapple with these profound questions. It might free us to become more thoughtful, more creative, more compassionate, more fully ourselves. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly where you need to be, listening, learning, asking the right questions. And that alone makes you part of the solution. Every person who takes the time to understand these issues, to think critically about the implications of AI, to engage thoughtfully rather than reactively, is contributing to a better outcome. We need millions of people like you, people who aren't AI experts, but who care enough to stay informed, to ask questions, to make conscious choices about how they interact with these technologies. The future isn't determined by a small group of technologists in Silicon Valley. It's determined by all of us, by the collective choices we make every day about what we value, what we accept, what we demand, and what we refuse to tolerate. So keep going, keep growing. And as you step into this new world, remember this. It's not the smartest tools that shape the future. It's the wisest people who know how to use them. The future of AI isn't just about algorithms. It's about you. Wisdom is not the same as intelligence. Intelligence is about processing information, solving problems, optimizing outcomes. Wisdom is about knowing which problems are worth solving, understanding the broader context and longer-term implications, recognizing that not everything that can be measured matters, and not everything that matters can be measured. Wisdom requires life experience, moral development, empathy, and the ability to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously. These are uniquely human capacities. and they're what we need most as we navigate this technological transformation. Part 10. Now let's talk about something we haven't fully addressed yet: the role of creativity in an AI-powered world, because this is where some of the most interesting tensions emerge. AI can now write poetry, compose symphonies, create visual art, design buildings, even tell jokes. So what happens to human creativity? Does it become obsolete? Or does it become more important than ever? The answer, I believe, is that AI is forcing us to reconsider what creativity actually is. For too long, we've conflated creativity with technical skill, the ability to draw realistically, write grammatically, play an instrument proficiently. But technical skill is exactly what AI excels at. It can master technique through pattern recognition and repetition. What AI cannot do, at least not yet, and perhaps never, is originate truly novel ideas that emerge from lived experience, emotional depth, and unique perspective. Consider a painter who creates a work inspired by the loss of a loved one, channeling grief into brushstrokes, making artistic choices that reflect not just aesthetic principles, but personal meaning. AI can analyze thousands of paintings and generate something in a similar style. It might even be technically impressive, but it's not creating from a place of genuine emotional experience. It's remixing patterns it has learned. There's no authentic self behind the work, no lived reality being processed and expressed. This distinction matters enormously. As AI-generated content floods the market, human audiences will increasingly crave authenticity, work that comes from a real person with a real perspective shaped by real experiences. We are already seeing this in various creative fields. Music listeners are drawn to artists who tell authentic stories, whose songs reflect genuine emotional journeys. Readers gravitate toward memoirs and personal essays that offer windows into experiences different from their own. Art collectors value not just the artifact, but the artist's story, the context, the human journey behind the creation. So creativity in the AI age isn't about competing with machines on technical proficiency. It's about going deeper into what makes you uniquely you. It's about having the courage to be vulnerable, to share your perspective even when it's uncomfortable, to make work that reflects your values, your struggles, your questions, your vision of what could be. This kind of creativity requires something AI doesn't have: a self, a subjective experience, a stake in the outcome, a reason for creating beyond the act of creation itself. And here's the beautiful paradox: AI can actually help you be more creative. It can handle the technical grunt work, freeing you to focus on the conceptual and emotional dimensions of your work. It can generate options quickly, helping you explore possibilities you might not have considered. It can provide instant feedback, accelerating your learning process. The key is to use AI as a collaborator, not a replacement for your own creative vision. Imagine a writer who uses AI to generate rough drafts or outlines, but then brings their unique voice, perspective, and emotional intelligence to revise and refine the work. Or a musician who uses AI to explore harmonic possibilities, but makes the final creative decisions based on what resonates with their artistic vision. Or a designer who uses AI to generate initial concepts, but applies their understanding of human psychology and cultural context to craft the final product. In each case, the human remains the creative director, the source of meaning and intention, while AI serves as a powerful assistant. This is the model we should be moving toward: human creativity amplified by artificial intelligence, not replaced by it. And this applies beyond the arts: scientific creativity, business innovation, social entrepreneurship. These all require the kind of creative thinking that connects disparate ideas, challenges assumptions, and imagines new possibilities. AI can provide information and analyze patterns, but breakthrough insights often come from human intuition, from asking questions nobody else is asking, from seeing connections that aren't obvious in the data. Part 11. Let's explore another crucial dimension: the relationship between AI and human relationships. Because as AI becomes more sophisticated at simulating conversation, companionship, even empathy, we need to ask some uncomfortable questions about what this means for human connection. AI companions, chatbots, virtual assistants that can hold conversations, remember your preferences, offer emotional support. These are becoming increasingly common. For some people, especially those who are isolated, lonely, or socially anxious, these AI relationships can provide genuine comfort, but they also raise profound concerns. Can a relationship with an AI ever be truly mutual? Can it involve genuine care? Or is it always fundamentally one-sided? And what happens to our capacity for real human connection if we increasingly retreat into relationships with entities that never challenge us, never disappoint us, never require the hard work that real relationships demand? Human relationships are messy. They require compromise, vulnerability, forgiveness, patience. They force us to confront our own limitations and grow beyond them. A real friend will tell you when you're wrong. A real partner will challenge your assumptions. Real relationships involve conflict, repair, growth. The whole difficult, beautiful complexity of two autonomous beings trying to build something together. AI relationships, by contrast, can be perfectly calibrated to our preferences. They never have bad days. They never misunderstand you unless programmed to. They're always available, always patient, always affirming. In some ways, this is comforting. In other ways, it's deeply concerning. Because if we can get the appearance of connection without the demands of real relationship, will we lose our capacity for authentic intimacy? Will we lose our ability to tolerate disagreement, to work through conflict, to love people despite their flaws? We're already seeing concerning trends. Young people spending more time online than in face-to-face interaction, reporting higher rates of loneliness despite being more connected than ever. Adults substituting parasocial relationships with celebrities and influencers for real friendships. People turning to AI for advice, support, even romantic companionship. None of this is inherently wrong, but it points to a deeper crisis of connection in modern life. And AI, rather than solving this crisis, might make it worse if we are not careful. The solution isn't to reject AI entirely. It's to be intentional about protecting and prioritizing real human relationships. It means putting down your phone during dinner. It means having difficult conversations face-to-face rather than hiding behind screens. It means investing time and energy in your local community. It means showing up for people even when it's inconvenient. These practices are more important than ever in an AI-powered world. We also need to think carefully about how AI is used in contexts that involve vulnerable people. AI companions marketed to the elderly, for instance, might provide some benefit in terms of reducing loneliness, but they're not a substitute for human contact, for the dignity of being seen and valued by other humans. AI tutors for children can supplement education, but they can't replace the mentorship, encouragement, and human modeling that teachers provide. AI therapy chatbots might offer some support, but they can't provide the deep empathic presence that a skilled therapist offers. In each of these cases, we need to be clear-eyed about both the potential benefits and the limitations of AI. We need to resist the temptation to use AI as a cheap substitute for the human care and attention that people deserve. Part 12. Now let's turn to perhaps the most philosophical question of all: consciousness and what it means to be alive. Because as AI systems become more sophisticated, some people are starting to ask whether they might become conscious, whether they might develop something like subjective experience, whether there's any meaningful difference between artificial and biological intelligence. These are deep waters, and I don't pretend to have definitive answers, but I think it's worth exploring what these questions reveal about how we understand ourselves. Currently, even the most advanced AI systems are essentially very sophisticated pattern matching engines. They process enormous amounts of data and generate outputs based on statistical patterns they've learned. There's no evidence they have subjective experiences, that they feel anything, that there's something it's like to be an AI in the way there's something it's like to be you or me. But let's imagine for a moment that future AI systems do develop something like consciousness. What would that mean ethically? Would we have moral obligations to them? Would they have rights? These aren't just science fiction scenarios. Serious philosophers and AI researchers are grappling with these questions right now. Because if we create entities that can suffer, we bear responsibility for that suffering. If we create minds, we need to think carefully about what kind of existence we are bringing into being and whether we have the right to do so. But here's what I find most interesting about these questions. They force us to confront what we value about consciousness, about being alive. Is it just information processing? Is it self-awareness? Is it the ability to make choices? Is it the capacity for suffering and joy? Is it something more ineffable, some spark of subjectivity that can't be reduced to computation? My own intuition, and it's only that, is that consciousness is deeply connected to embodiment, to having a body that's vulnerable and finite. that experiences pleasure and pain, that exists in physical space and time. Our conscious experience is shaped by having biological needs, by the fact that we can be hurt, by the knowledge that we will die. These aren't bugs in the system. They're fundamental to what makes our experience what it is. AI, no matter how sophisticated, doesn't have this kind of embodied vulnerability. It doesn't eat or sleep or feel cold or fear injury or experience the passage of time in the way we do. And I suspect this matters more than we realize. But even if I'm wrong, even if AI does develop some form of consciousness, that doesn't diminish the unique value of human consciousness. It doesn't make our experiences less real or less important. If anything, it would expand our moral circle, giving us new responsibilities rather than relieving us of old ones. What these questions really reveal is a kind of existential anxiety about our own significance. If machines can do what we do, if they can think and create and maybe even feel, then what makes us special? But this is the wrong question. We're not special because we're the only conscious beings, or the only intelligent beings, or the only creative beings. We're valuable simply because we are. Because each conscious experience has intrinsic worth. Because suffering matters and flourishing matters regardless of whether it occurs in a biological or artificial substrate. The emergence of AI doesn't threaten this truth. It just forces us to grapple with it more explicitly. And in doing so, it might actually deepen our appreciation for consciousness, for the mystery and miracle of subjective experience, for the profound gift of being alive and aware in this strange and beautiful universe. Part 13. Let's talk about governance, policy, and the regulatory challenges of AI. Because individual actions and corporate responsibility aren't enough. We need thoughtful governance frameworks that can keep pace with rapidly evolving technology while protecting human rights and promoting the common good. This is incredibly difficult. The technology is advancing faster than our ability to fully understand its implications. Companies are racing to deploy AI systems before adequate safety measures are in place. International coordination is challenging when different countries have different values and interests, and many policymakers simply don't have the technical background to craft effective regulations. But we have to try. The stakes are too high to leave AI development entirely to market forces or to the discretion of private companies. What might good AI governance look like? First, transparency. Companies deploying AI systems that affect people's lives should be required to explain how those systems work, what data they use, how they make decisions. This is especially crucial for high-stakes applications like criminal justice, hiring, lending, and medical diagnosis. People have a right to know when AI is being used to make decisions about them, and they have a right to contest those decisions. Second, accountability. When AI systems cause harm, there need to be clear lines of responsibility and mechanisms for redress. If a self-driving car causes an accident, who's liable? If an AI hiring tool discriminates, how do affected individuals seek justice? If a medical AI makes a wrong diagnosis, what recourse does the patient have? These questions need clear legal frameworks. Third, safety standards and testing requirements. Just as we require safety testing for pharmaceuticals, vehicles, and medical devices before they can be widely deployed, we should require rigorous testing of AI systems, especially those that will be used in high-stakes or safety-critical contexts. This includes testing for bias, robustness, security vulnerabilities, and unintended consequences. Fourth, meaningful human oversight. For certain critical decisions involving life and death, fundamental rights, or irreversible consequences, we should require meaningful human review rather than fully automated decision-making. The human in the loop should have real authority, adequate time, and sufficient information to make informed judgments, not just rubber stamp AI recommendations. Fifth, democratic input into AI development priorities. Right now, AI development is largely driven by what's technically interesting to researchers or commercially profitable to companies. But shouldn't society have some say in what problems we prioritize? Shouldn't we collectively decide whether to invest more in AI for medical diagnosis versus AI for targeted advertising? Shouldn't communities affected by AI systems have input into how they're designed and deployed? Creating mechanisms for this kind of democratic input is challenging, but essential if we want AI to serve broad public interests rather than narrow private ones. Sixth, international cooperation. AI doesn't respect national borders. A dangerous AI system developed in one country can affect people worldwide. We need international agreements on AI safety standards, ethical principles, and governance frameworks, similar to what we have for nuclear weapons, climate change, and other global challenges. This is complicated by geopolitical tensions, particularly between the United States and China, the two leading AI powers. But the risks of an unconstrained AI arms race, where safety considerations are sacrificed for competitive advantage, are too great to ignore. We need ways to promote beneficial AI development while preventing misuse, and that requires cooperation even between rivals. All of this is easier said than done. Regulation always lags behind innovation. Special interests lobby against restrictions that might limit their profits. Technical experts disagree about what measures are necessary or even feasible. Democratic processes are slow while technology moves fast. But these challenges aren't reasons to give up on governance. They're reasons to start now, to experiment with different approaches, to learn from failures, to iterate and improve. Because the alternative, letting AI development proceed without democratic oversight or accountability, is far more dangerous. Part 14. Let's examine AI through the lens of different cultural perspectives. Because the narrative around AI isn't universal. Different cultures have different philosophical traditions, different values, different concerns, and different visions for how AI should develop. In Western, particularly American, discourse about AI, there's often a focus on individual autonomy, innovation, economic efficiency, and sometimes an almost utopian belief in technological solutions to social problems. The conversation tends to center on questions like, how can AI maximize individual freedom and choice? How can it drive economic growth? How do we maintain competitive advantage? These are important questions, but they're not the only questions, and they reflect specific cultural values that aren't necessarily shared worldwide. In many Asian cultures, there's more emphasis on collective harmony, social cohesion, and the role of technology in supporting community well-being rather than just individual achievement. Questions might center more on, how can AI strengthen family bonds and community connections? How can it support social harmony? How do we ensure technological change doesn't disrupt important cultural traditions and values? In some indigenous perspectives, there's emphasis on the relationship between humans, technology, and the natural world. Questions might focus on, how does AI affect our connection to the land and to other living beings? What are the ecological implications of AI's massive energy consumption and resource requirements? How do we ensure AI development respects traditional knowledge and ways of being? In African contexts, where many communities are still addressing basic needs like clean water, healthcare, and education, the questions might be more fundamental. How can AI serve people who lack basic infrastructure? How do we ensure AI doesn't widen the gap between the global north and south? How can technology transfer and capacity building happen equitably? These different perspectives aren't just interesting cultural variations. They highlight different priorities, different conceptions of the good life, different understandings of what progress means, and they reveal blind spots in the dominant Western AI narrative. For instance, the emphasis on individual autonomy sometimes overlooks the ways technology shapes collective culture and social relationships. The focus on efficiency sometimes ignores the value of processes that seem inefficient, but serve important social or spiritual functions. The celebration of disruption sometimes fails to consider who benefits from stability and who's harmed by rapid change. We need a more globally inclusive conversation about AI's future, one that takes seriously the perspectives and priorities of people from diverse cultural backgrounds, not just the engineers and entrepreneurs of Silicon Valley and Beijing. This also means being mindful of whose voices are centered in AI development. Currently, the field is dominated by people from a relatively narrow demographic, primarily men, primarily from Western or East Asian backgrounds, primarily from privileged socioeconomic classes. This lack of diversity isn't just an equity issue, it's a quality issue. Homogeneous teams build systems that work well for people like them and miss use cases, failure modes, and ethical considerations that would be obvious to people with different lived experiences. We need more women in AI, more people of color, more people from the global south, more people from working class backgrounds, more people with disabilities, more people from humanities and social science backgrounds, not for representation's sake alone, though that matters, but because diversity genuinely improves the quality and ethical grounding of the systems we build. Part 15. Let's turn our attention to something intensely practical: how AI is transforming specific industries beyond what we've already discussed. Because understanding these concrete changes can help you think strategically about your own career and life choices. In healthcare, we've mentioned diagnosis, but AI is also revolutionizing drug discovery, cutting the time and cost of developing new medications. It's enabling precision medicine, where treatments are tailored to individual genetic profiles. It's improving hospital operations, predicting patient flow, optimizing scheduling, reducing wait times. It's even powering robotic surgery systems that can perform delicate procedures with superhuman precision. For healthcare workers, this means roles are evolving rapidly. Radiologists are becoming AI-assisted diagnosticians. Nurses are using AI to predict which patients are at risk of deterioration. Administrative staff are working with AI systems that handle scheduling, billing, and records management. In finance, AI has transformed trading, risk assessment, fraud detection, and customer service. Algorithms execute trades in microseconds, analyzing market conditions faster than any human could. Credit scoring systems use AI to evaluate loan applications, considering hundreds of variables. Chatbots handle routine customer inquiries, freeing human staff for complex problem solving. For people in finance, this means technical skills are increasingly important, but so is judgment about ethical uses of AI, understanding its limitations, and managing the human impacts of algorithmic decisions. In transportation, we are watching the gradual emergence of autonomous vehicles. Self-driving technology is advancing rapidly, though true full autonomy in all conditions remains elusive. But even partial automation is changing the industry. Truck drivers are transitioning to roles more like fleet monitors. Urban planners are rethinking infrastructure for a future with fewer private vehicles. Insurance companies are recalculating risk models. In retail and e-commerce, AI powers recommendation engines, inventory management, dynamic pricing, supply chain optimization, and increasingly, automated warehouses where robots work alongside humans. Retail workers are shifting from stock management and checkout operations to customer service and experience creation. Personal shopping is becoming more about curation and relationship building as routine tasks are automated. In manufacturing, AI-powered robots handle more complex and varied tasks than traditional automation. Factories are becoming smart, with sensors and AI systems optimizing production in real time. Quality control is increasingly automated. Predictive maintenance systems prevent breakdowns before they happen. Manufacturing workers are becoming technicians who program, monitor, and maintain these systems. In agriculture, AI combines with sensors, drones, and satellite imagery to enable precision farming. Farmers can monitor crop health at the individual plant level, apply water and pesticides only where needed, predict yields with greater accuracy, and respond to changing conditions more quickly. This technology could feed more people with fewer resources, though it also raises questions about who owns agricultural data and whether small farmers can compete with large tech-enabled operations. In entertainment and media, AI is already writing news articles, especially for routine topics like sports scores and financial reports. It's generating music for video games and background tracks. It's helping film editors with tedious tasks like color correction. It's enabling personalized content experiences where every user sees a slightly different version optimized for their preferences. For creative professionals, this means focusing more on distinctly human elements like storytelling, emotional resonance, cultural insight, and original vision. In law, AI reviews documents, does legal research, predicts case outcomes, even drafts routine contracts. But it can't develop novel legal arguments, understand nuanced human situations, or provide the counsel and representation that requires empathy and judgment. Lawyers are using AI tools to handle routine tasks more efficiently, freeing time for the work that truly requires legal expertise and human wisdom. In education, we've discussed personalized learning, but AI is also enabling sophisticated simulation environments for hands-on training, automated grading for some types of assignments, early warning systems that identify struggling students, and adaptive curricula that adjust to each learner's needs. Teachers who embrace these tools while maintaining their irreplaceable human role will thrive. The pattern across all these industries is similar. AI handles routine, repetitive, data-intensive tasks, while humans focus increasingly on work requiring creativity, emotional intelligence, ethical judgment, and complex problem solving. The people who will succeed are those who understand both the capabilities and limitations of AI in their field, who can collaborate effectively with AI systems, and who double down on developing their distinctly human skills. This transition isn't always smooth or painless. Some people will need to retrain. Some communities dependent on industries being automated will need support and new economic opportunities. But the transition is happening whether we are ready or not. So the question becomes, how do we navigate it wisely, ensuring that the benefits are broadly shared and that people aren't left behind? Part 16. Now let's address something that keeps many people up at night, the possibility of AI going wrong in catastrophic ways. We've talked about bias, privacy, and misinformation, but some experts worry about more extreme scenarios. What if AI systems become so powerful and so autonomous that they pursue goals misaligned with human values? What if we lose control? What if AI poses an existential risk to humanity? These concerns, often called AI safety or AI alignment problems, are taken seriously by many researchers. The basic worry is this: if we create AI systems that are highly capable at achieving goals, but we haven't perfectly specified what those goals should be or what constraints should apply, the systems might achieve their assigned goals in ways we never intended and didn't foresee. There's a classic thought experiment. Imagine you tell an AI to maximize paperclip production. If it's sufficiently advanced and takes the goal literally, it might convert all available resources, including potentially humans, into paperclips or paperclip-making machinery. This sounds absurd, but it illustrates a real problem. Ensuring AI systems understand not just our stated goals, but our deeper intentions and values. This is called the alignment problem. How do we align AI behavior with human values? It's harder than it sounds because human values are complex, often contradictory, culturally variable, and difficult to specify precisely. We value both freedom and security, both individual rights and collective well-being, both efficiency and fairness. How do you program all of that into an AI system? And who decides which values to prioritize when they conflict? Some researchers worry that as AI systems become more capable, they might develop instrumental goals, sub-goals that help them achieve their primary objectives. That could be dangerous. For instance, self-preservation. An AI might resist being shut down if that would prevent it from completing its assigned task. Resource acquisition. An AI might try to acquire more computing power and energy to operate more effectively. Goal preservation. An AI might resist having its goals changed. If an AI system developed these instrumental goals while pursuing some primary objective, and if it became sufficiently powerful, it might act in ways that threaten human interests or even human survival. Now, how worried should we be about these scenarios? This is hotly debated. Some experts think advanced AI could pose existential risks within decades and that we should be investing heavily in AI safety research now. Others think these concerns are overblown, that we are nowhere near creating AI with the kind of agency and autonomy that would pose such risks, and that focusing on speculative future dangers distracts from present harms like bias and surveillance. My own view is that both near-term and long-term concerns deserve attention. We shouldn't ignore present harms in favor of hypothetical future risks. But we also shouldn't dismiss safety research as science fiction. The truth is we are in uncharted territory. We are creating increasingly powerful systems whose behavior we don't fully understand. A precautionary approach seems wise. Investing in safety research, building in robust oversight mechanisms, proceeding carefully with the most powerful and autonomous systems. Part 17. Finally, let's talk about meaning, purpose, and what we're living for in this AI-transformed world. Because ultimately, all the practical questions about jobs and skills and governance are secondary to deeper questions about what makes life worth living. If AI takes over more and more tasks, if it provides us with material abundance and frees us from tedious work, what will we do with that freedom? What will give our lives purpose and meaning? For many people, work has been a primary source of identity, purpose, and social connection. If that changes radically, we'll need to find meaning elsewhere. This isn't necessarily bad. Perhaps we've overvalued paid work and undervalued other forms of meaningful activity, caregiving, community building, creative expression, learning, spiritual practice, stewardship of the natural world, cultivation of deep relationships. Maybe an AI-enabled future could allow more people to engage in these intrinsically meaningful activities instead of spending most of their waking hours in jobs they don't find fulfilling. But this transition requires more than just technology. It requires a cultural shift in how we think about value and worth. It requires economic systems that can provide for people's basic needs even if traditional employment declines. It requires social structures that support meaning-making outside of paid work. It requires education that prepares people not just for careers, but for lives of purpose and fulfillment. Some envision a future where universal basic income provides economic security while people are free to pursue whatever gives their lives meaning. Others worry this could lead to widespread purposelessness and despair if people lack structure and direction. The truth probably depends on the individual. Some people would flourish with more freedom and time. Others would struggle without the structure and purpose that work provides. What's certain is that we need conversations about these deeper questions, not just how to prepare for AI in the job market, but how to prepare for AI in our souls. What do you want your life to be about? What brings you joy and fulfillment beyond your paycheck? What contributions do you want to make to your community and the world? What relationships do you want to nurture? What growth do you want to experience? These questions have always been important, but in an AI-transformed world, they become urgent. Because if we don't have good answers, all the material abundance and technological capability in the world won't make us happy or fulfilled. We'll have solved the problem of survival only to face more acutely the problem of meaning. And here's the beautiful thing. These questions, these deep existential questions about meaning and purpose, they're uniquely human. AI can help us meet our material needs, but it can't tell us what we should value or what will make our lives meaningful. That's our job. Each of us individually and all of us collectively. That's where our irreducible humanity lies, in our capacity to choose, to value, to create meaning even in a universe that doesn't hand us a ready-made purpose. So yes, learn about AI, develop relevant skills, stay informed about technological developments, advocate for ethical governance, but also, and perhaps more importantly, cultivate your inner life, know yourself, clarify your values, build deep relationships, create beauty, contribute to something larger than yourself, find what makes you feel truly alive. Because in the end, that's what matters most. Not whether you can compete with AI, but whether you're living a life that feels true, meaningful, and fully human. The future is not something that happens to us. It's something we create together through millions of individual choices and collective actions. And the most important choice each of us faces is not how to use AI, but who to be in a world where AI exists. That choice is yours, and it's one that no algorithm can make for you. So make it wisely. Make it consciously. Make it from your deepest values and your highest aspirations. Because you're not just adapting to the AI revolution, you're shaping what comes next. And that responsibility, that opportunity, that power, that's what it means to be human in the age of artificial intelligence.